A very good morning and welcome all of you to PW Only IAS English channel. So today is 3rd of February and we are going to analyze some editorials today surrounding the budget, and then we are going to see the related economic survey related news with regard to the budget and economic survey wherever the interlinkages are there. Economic survey gave some lessons to the government and budget is trying to follow that prescription. So we are going to see a very good editorial today. First of all, this is the editorial that beyond the tax cuts, a closer read of the union budget. Even though union budget has satisfied the middle class by doing the tax cut, there will be no tax effectively till 12 lakh rupees income after accounting for the rebates. But does it gel up well together with 4.4% fiscal deficit target? On one hand, you are reducing your income by giving the tax concession to the income taxpayers. On the other hand, you are also aspiring to reduce the fiscal deficit. So how both these things together, these are like contradictory things in themselves, especially when the economy is declining, number of taxpayers who actually pay the tax is going down. How can you take the risk of reducing the income tax slab rates, thereby reducing your own income tax generated revenue? This is the lesson for the finance minister in this thing. So we are going to see this editorial first of all. Apart from this editorial, we are going to talk about some news from the polity. CJI and Supreme Court judges reach out to state district judiciary to hear their problems. So what are the problems? What is the pendency of cases at the district level? Whether the judges who are being promoted from the district level judiciary, are they good enough? Are they capable enough? Or is there some nepotism? Nepotism means favoritism. So those kind of things. Okay, yes, I am now keeping a tab on your comments also. So the various challenges associated with AI driven genetic testing. See, budget had a lot to discuss. Economic survey also had a lot to discuss. We could not due to paucity of time. So in the coming days, maybe for next 7 to 10 days, one or two editorials or articles in the news analysis will cater to your budget and economic survey news related topics that are important for the economy. How much is the outlay for social sector? Hindu and other newspaper, Indian Express will also keep on following that. So I'll keep you updated with the budget related topics also. But we can't ignore the other news articles, polity, biology, science and tech. So we will be striking a fine balance between the economy and the other news articles. So let's get started with the budget part. PDF, you all know the PDF is available on this Telegram channel. Jatin Verma sir, PW Only IAS English. Okay, so search for the correct name, or otherwise the link is given in the description box. Now quickly coming to this article, I have put in a lot of efforts to ease the task for you to understand things, to make you understand the things in a lucid manner. So quickly I'll take you through, even though the editorial is quite long in nature, but we can't miss out on such things also. The presentation of the union budget was against the backdrop of pressing macroeconomic challenges. What are the challenges? High taxes, persistently high taxes, leaving lesser disposable income. What is disposable income? Disposable income is the income a person can actually spend after all the deductions, tax, provident fund, etc. Okay, if a person A is getting salary, his salary is deducted for TDS and other later on income tax part. Then he has to pay provident fund. Now if the tax rates are high, then he is left with, suppose a person's income is 1 lakh rupees, but he is left with effectively 70,000 rupees to spend. Okay, this was the challenge, because of which consumption expenditure on Parle-G, on goods, milk, bread and butter was declining. There was no effective demand in the economy. I mean, the demand slowdown was there. Then unemployment, earlier it was 6%, still government itself admitted that it is around 3.3, 3.5%, 4%, right? So unemployment again, jobless people, no income, no demand. Subdued private investment, private sector in this kind of a scenario number one, where there is no demand, no effective demand, why would private sector come forward to make investments in the factories, plants? No investment, mounting external vulnerabilities. We are, in the sense that dollar rupee value, we are losing out to dollar in terms of rupees depreciation, plus we are an import-led economy. We are importing oil, etc., fertilizer, etc., urea, right? So this would lead to a scenario where domestic demand is going down, owing to which private sector investment is going down, owing to which India's international competitiveness is going down, and we are losing out in the form of rupees depreciation. Rupees depreciation is just a symptom of the malaise, symptom of the disease in the economy itself, decline in the economy itself. So these things threaten to derail the growth story of India and looming fiscal overhang. What do we mean by this term, fiscal overhang? Rising fiscal deficit, rising debt of the government, okay, the public debt accumulated through the years, all through the years. 60s, 80%, 85% of the government's overall GDP, I mean India's GDP, is into debt. If all the debt were to be paid in 1 year, it will account for 80% of that year's GDP. So this is fiscal overhang, right? Now, in all these challenges, amidst all these challenges, Finance Minister laid out an ambitious roadmap for developed country India, for developing India by 2035, that is Viksit Bharat, spanning agriculture, manufacturing, micro, small and medium enterprises, and then your social welfare and infrastructure. The budget's policy announcements and fiscal plans need, however, a closer scrutiny. On the one hand, though this clipping has appeared in the newspaper that Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman has tried to hear the voice, accommodate the voice of the middle class while formulating the budget, and that is why the tax cuts have come. But the writer is not happy. Writer says that fiscal deficit target of 4.4% to be achieved in 2025-2026 does not go well with the 11.2% tax revenue growth. It is already declining. Tax revenue growth in 2024-2025, that the year ongoing financial year, is already lesser than the previous years. When the tax growth is already less, how can a finance minister who has already reduced taxes, tax slabs have been so revised that this year the tax growth will be even lower than this rate, then how can you keep a fiscal deficit target lower than the previous year? Okay, there was an editorial in 2022-2023 that explained the term brinkmanship, fiscal brinkmanship. In India, my dear students, the problem is, I'll share that editorial also, you can go through that. Fiscal brinkmanship is the term used for how close we make our targets, make our projections to the reality. So in India, the culture is to come up with the attractive figures, that we will come up with the, we will be able to achieve a fiscal deficit target of 4.4%. But this is lack of brinkmanship. Brinkman is somebody who keeps a tab on whether the ship would be able to reach the coast or reach the harbor on time. This is the brinkmanship. Whether your targets 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, how close are they to actual reality? In India, just to sound good, just to appease the economists and the populists together, what the finance ministers do is they lose the sight of brinkmanship. They let go of the brinkmanship. They formulate the targets which should just sound good to the ears, but actually they are not going to happen. They are not going to be achieved. So that is the problem this writer is also trying to highlight here. The assumptions appear overly optimistic given the significant tax cuts announced in the budget. This assumption of fiscal deficit is optimistic, seems to be unachievable, right? Then the other things writer says is achievement of the fiscal deficit target will require the following. What all will it require? Success of asset monetization program. Writer says given the asset monetization thing of the past, asset monetization for the first time was announced in 2021 budget, right? What is asset monetization? Asset monetization is that instead of going for your this thing, outright disinvestment or selling the public asset, what you are doing, you are effectively giving them on lease to the private sector, okay, giving them on lease to the Ambanis, Adanis, Tatas. So what will happen by that way? Government is having the possession of the asset yet it is earning the income out of it. Asset, for example, railway has got a lot of land in its possession. So if railway land could be sold off, government will get a one-time bounty. Government will get a one-time income, capital income. But if that railway land is lent on, is given on rent to the private sector, government maintains the ownership also, and yet it is earning the income. In India, the entrepreneurs have a sense of possession. Okay, they have a sense of possessiveness for their asset. The big companies, they would not invest in the monetization of the asset scheme. Why? Because they want the ownership of, even if it is an ailing company like Air India, even if it is a declining, the company going down, they just want to own it 100%. So the previous asset monetization program, which was relying on the assumption that private sector, Ambani and Adani's, they would come forward and invest in the rental scheme, in a way rental scheme of assets, that did not enthuse the capitalists, the corporates in India. Now, how can you, the achievement of this fiscal deficit target hinges upon success of this year's asset monetization program, when it is no different from the previous year's asset monetization program, right? Risk of crowding out. Now, government is going to borrow 11.5 crore lakh rupees. Okay, 11.5 crore lakh rupees from the market. So if government is going to borrow so much, do you think that private CEOs with their suitcase empty, they would get anything from the bank? Blank suitcase, will it be able to get anything from the bank? Because money printing is limited in the economy. There is no monetization of deficit. Okay, so if notes are being printed up to a limit, SBI will be having limited notes, limited currency, because public deposits are going to go to public sector banks, including SBI. If government secretary is going to borrow large sum, will there be anything left for the private sector? Private sector will not be able to borrow as much as it wants to borrow. So this will again be a problem. If private sector is not going to borrow as much, from where will the government achieve the revenue growth? Corporate tax will go down. If they are not borrowing, they are not earning. If they are not borrowing, they are not investing, and at the end of the year, they are not earning as much. So quarterly tax collection will go down. Okay, then this problem at a time when already the credit uptake, credit borrowing from the banks is at an all-time low, because private companies are not investing. Okay, so improved tax buoyancy. What is the tax buoyancy? Number of people, how much is the rate of tax giving the revenue to the, how much tax is being given by a particular rate of tax to the government. So now that you have reduced the tax rates, already number of people paying taxes less, this improvement in tax buoyancy, how would it come? So these are the problems. Efficient tax administration. Is our tax administration efficient? We let the big fish go, even as the income tax department, the revenue service officers, they are running behind the rats. Even the cats are let to go, right? They are allowed to leave, they are allowed to go scot-free, even as they are chasing the rats. You getting my point? Big fish is allowed to go. So tax litigations, etc. So efficient tax administration is the one which is able to effectively actually collect more tax, rather than filing more cases, rather than more litigating. It should be more revenue generating. So all these factors, on all these factors hinges the achievement of fiscal deficit target of 4.4%, right? Which is unlikely. Now, second, writer says tax cuts as per the new slabs, relaxed income tax slabs, their impact is going to be that statement of revenue foregone. This is the statement presented along with the budget. Okay, statement of revenue foregone. That means this is the amount of revenue which the government would have otherwise collected if it wouldn't have slashed the tax rates. If these tax cuts wouldn't have been allowed, government would have earned 1 lakh crore rupees more than what it is going to earn as per the budget document. So again, if you are aspiring to achieve 4.4% fiscal deficit, and in turn you are giving 1 lakh crore rupees worth of tax concession, this term is also known as conceptual side pay. On the conceptual side, tax expenditure. This is called as tax expenditure. So you are not spending money, you are actually spending the tax potential. So the term tax expenditure. In other words, in the longest sense, it is called as revenue foregone. Revenue foregone. I could have collected rupees 10,000 from my friend, but I am telling my brother, elder brother, that because he is suffering, so I am letting him go. I'm not collecting, I'm not forcing him to give back my 10,000 rupees. So government is also saying this thing because the middle class people were suffering. So we are letting go of these people who are earning up to 12 lakh rupees. We are not recovering the tax. The government is not charging them the tax that it otherwise should have or could have, right? So tax foregone. Understand this statement. Now, this constrains, this relaxed income tax slab constrains the government's ability to fund development projects. That is why there were not many pompous schemes in the budget. Pradhan Mantri Falana, Pradhan Mantri X, Pradhan Mantri Y scheme, Z scheme, not many. There were things for MSMEs, etc. But it wasn't as lofty, as pomp and show kind of a budget as we have seen in the past. Number one, we are a political economy. We are a democratic economy. First year of the government after elections, so it is the honeymoon period for until next 2 to 3 years. We will see good budgets, populist budgets or populist budgets around 27, 28, mainly 28, when government will come out with lot of schemes for the poor people to appease them, to appease the economic voters to vote for the government. That is why government has not come out with many developmental projects, but then this will in turn have an effect on household savings. So household savings have shown a structural decline over the past decade, dropping to 18.4% of GDP. Okay, let me give you a correlation. During the Manmohan Singh era, household savings used to be around 32%. Why? What correlation does household schemes have with developmental projects or welfare projects in the other way? If poor people are being given more wages, are being given wages through Manrega type welfare schemes, so they are themselves going to incur lesser money out of their pocket. They are going to spend less money out of their pocket on those things, on those in-kind benefits that are being provided by the government. Free electricity, free ration, free, Manrega wages, right? That is why this savings rate goes down when the government is not investing much in the welfare schemes. Okay, so this is the correlation. Now, writer says the third point here is manufacturing front. On the manufacturing front, budget reiterates ambition to emerge as a global manufacturing powerhouse. The tagline in the budget was "Make in India for the world." Make in India, make for the world, right? But writer says that economic survey is pointing out that India's manufacturing sector's contribution to GDP is around 16.66%. And I was studying 2011-12, the rate was just 16.66%. It has seen an incremental increase to just 17% of GDP. So manufacturing sector is not increasing. Why is it not increasing? What are the underlying reasons? We are not investing in innovation, in R&D. The manufacturing innovation, the industrial sector innovation captures or gets just 0.64% of India's GDP. Well, compare this to the countries like US and the Western economy, other Western economies like European Union economies. There, the private sector entrepreneurs, private sector companies like Ford Foundation, etc., they themselves come in for R&D. In India, the R&D culture is not there. So that is the problem, that we are not innovating. We are manufacturing the more of the same, whereas the demand for the same has gone down. How many of you buy the regular analog watches? No one. Okay, even if you are wearing the lower price category watches, but each one of you would be aspiring for the smart watches, right? So the problem is we are manufacturing the same analog wall clocks, etc., even as the arise of digital, arise of smart watches. This is just one example. We are manufacturing or investing into same type of cars, but the arise of AI driven cars or autopilot cars, even though this thing is happening in the automobile sector, but the technology is imported. So steps taken to revive the manufacturing in the budget: production linked incentive schemes have shown limited success, moderate success in sectors like electronics, their scalability and long-term impact remain uncertain. So writer is saying that till the time the benefits under production linked incentive, till the time incentives are given for producing more, only till that time factories are producing more of these items like electronics. Okay, because for every mobile phone of let's say 10,000 rupees, Gioni is getting 600 rupees from the government. Gioni, the basic mobile phone we are talking about, the India made mobile phones. Okay, similarly, the point is till the time they are getting fruits of their labor from the government, only till that time they are manufacturing. Is it going to bring about a cultural shift? Okay, a cultural shift in the sense that once and for all, after the production linked incentive scheme is over, will these companies who are right now producing under the PLI scheme, will they still be producing the items? This is what writer is saying, their scalability, whether they will be able to scale up and whether they will be in the long term having that electronic sector ecosystem in India, which on its own will produce these type of items even after the production linked incentive scheme is abolished. So this is the problem. Okay, as a result, government is focusing on MSMEs. The budget announcements on enhanced credit facilities for MSMEs, the revision of MSME classification criteria, all these are good in terms of sounding. Okay, the launch of National Manufacturing Mission in budget this year, aimed at improving ease of doing business, to foster a future-ready workforce and promote clean tech manufacturing. These are no doubt are important steps. Okay, but all these may improve the scale economies. However, India's industrial R&D expenditure is at a dismal 0.64% of GDP only, which is not a good thing. Right now, what is the requirement? Need for sustained investment in innovation and R&D. We need to have a culture of R&D. We are diverting the corporate social responsibility funds. Okay, we have allowed, government has allowed that corporate social responsibility or private companies can invest in R&D out of their CSR, corporate social responsibility obligation. Still, the culture is not changing. Okay, now, however, the measures fall short of addressing the core competitiveness issues such as regulatory inefficiencies. Okay, regulators are not focusing upon the quality, etc. Then infrastructure gaps, power cuts, cost of power for commercial enterprises is more. Okay, the per unit rate in domestic sector is 6 rupees, for whereas for companies and private sector, the factories, it is 13 rupees in states like Punjab, for example. Low R&D expenditure, 0.64% of GDP. So these are the facts that you need to memorize. Deeper structural reforms. What are the reforms? We need to have we need to debureaucratize the economic sector at least. Okay, then like we brought about 100% FDI in insurance. Are we doing something of the nature for manufacturing of the similar nature? No. Okay, these are the core competitiveness issues we need to address if we want to compete with R&D driven economies like China and Germany. Okay, so this is the highlight in this particular thing. Okay, so we need to have, if we want to become like China and Germany, we need to be competitive, innovative, innovation driven economies we need to become. That is when the share of manufacturing will actually go up for the long haul till eternity. Otherwise, you give them the incentives, and till the time incentives are there, these companies will manufacture. After the incentives are withdrawn, the overall the benefits of the scheme would go down the drain the same year. So this is the problem. Fourth, the gaps remain in agriculture. Even though Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, then high yielding national mission on high yielding seeds, then increased limit in Kisan credit card, all these things have been brought about. Okay, then 100 low productivity districts, so as to focus of agriculture ministry on 100 low productivity districts, so as to extend the green revolution type of a thing to northeastern areas, pulses, tur, these type of dals. Okay, we are going to invest in this year, but these measures are with the aim of enhancing productivity and climate resilience, which are critical and signals a strategic pivot from blanket subsidies to targeted subsidies to precision support, empowering farmers with a greater financial flexibility. No doubt these measures are all good, but measures fall short of addressing the systemic efficiencies in the agriculture market problem. What's the problem? Problem number one is budget lays emphasis on credit enhancements, yet the focus on short-term loans. The focus is on short-term loans only. Kisan credit card, maximum duration is 2 years, okay, or one cropping cycle rather. The dependency of farmers on the debt without addressing the issues of price volatility. Why do farmers have to borrow? Okay, because prices are highly volatile, they are subject to vagaries of monsoon sometimes, crop failure or bumper crop. If there's a bumper crop, they will face a price crash and then they will have to borrow for the next cropping cycle. So this is just again a band-aid solution. Rather than addressing the actual problem why farmers are in debt, you are just enhancing the Kisan credit card scheme. Benefits like the farmers can now borrow up to 5 lakh rupees instead of the previous 3 lakh rupees. So this is again a short-term solution only for short-term credit. Addressing the deeper malaise is that of having e-warehouses scheme, receipt scheme, okay, then having storage capacity, even though budget talks about it, but the allocation has been rather very less, right? Then problem two, the absence of concrete measures to promote agricultural exports, particularly as India eyes leadership in millets and natural farming, requires a missed opportunity. This represents a missed opportunity. So natural farming, organic farming, zero carbon farming, those type of things were in the discourse, in the discussion, but they haven't been incorporated in the budget. Now, fifth, external sector. We are talking about exports over here. The budget introduces some promising measures for the external sector. Significant gaps remain unaddressed. Diversification of exports needed. Service exports, particularly IT and BPO, that is service sector, your Infosys, TCS, Wipro, etc. Okay, that is having a compounded annual growth rate of 10.5%. Every year they are growing by 10.5 to 11%. Okay, don't we need to diversify this? Yes, we can't be stagnant on, we can't remain fixated on this. Because of the Donald Trump's policy measures, IT enabled services might be crippled. Okay, so the trade facilitation initiatives such as Bharat Trade Net and export credit support for MSMEs, which were announced in the budget, are positive steps. Nonetheless, they lack the scale required because the support that is being given is rather peanuts, paltry, very less when compared to the market potential. Then the challenges posed by depreciation of the rupee and declining forex reserves require a more ambitious export strategy. So when the rupee is depreciating, I ask you a question whether exporters are going to gain or are they going to lose. So quickly answer this point also. Okay, now the fiscal push to value-added sectors such as pharmaceuticals, electronics, renewable energy, high-value agricultural products could have strengthened India's position in the global supply chain and enhanced India's export competitiveness. So we could have given the push to pharmaceutical sector. Once, like just 10 years back, we were a force to reckon with, we were a power to reckon with when it came to affordable pharmaceutical companies. Today we are dependent on China for active pharmaceutical ingredients, thereby rendering our supply chain vulnerable. Until and unless we have active pharmaceutical ingredients made in India, we can't be a pharmaceutical hub. Our supply chain link is vulnerable here, right? The supply, if China stops the supply of active pharmaceutical ingredients, our pharma companies would be rendered vulnerable. They would not be able to manufacture. Am I clear? So in climate action, the last one, finally, the budget signals intent on climate action and clean energy. Its financial commitment reveal a cautious incremental approach only rather than a transformative push. Incremental is doing more of what you were already doing rather than transforming the status quo. The budget focuses on supply chain resilience through incentives for lithium-ion batteries, recycling rather, duty exemptions on critical minerals, and support for domestic solar, photovoltaic, and battery manufacturing. This is a pragmatic move to reduce import dependence. However, without a parallel investment in the grid modernization, our electricity grids are consuming more. The element of resistance, power supplied through wires, is getting wasted. Okay, grid modernization, that was required. Then energy storage. Do we have the capacity to store energy? No, again, right? And industrial decarbonization, the transition to a low carbon economy will remain fragmented. So these are the 6 points on which the budget has talked about. Okay, now on live-in relationships in Uttarakhand, Uniform Civil Code passed by the Uttarakhand government, which is the article that deals with Uniform Civil Code, Article 44, for a quick revision. It says that live-in relationships have to be registered with the government, and only the people who are unmarried and the people who are heterosexuals, they can enter into live-in relationships. This judgment runs contradictory to Supreme Court's judgment on Section 377 of homosexuality, and also the Puttaswamy judgment, where right to privacy was declared as Article 21, an essential part of Article 21. Offline registration by submitting a form online through a newly launched online portal. Documents for it. You see, don't you think that government is running behind the ants? Uttarakhand government, they have got the mandate to do something good. Okay, live-in relationship registration, etc. These are peripheral things. I'm not saying they are not to be regulated, etc. Okay, you are saying that if registration is not given, or somebody is living in the live-in relationships, they are going against public morality. Okay, why would anyone enter into live-in relationship? Couples have to disclose their current status, whether they are single, married, divorced, annulled, or separated, or widowed. Okay, these are relationships which are done in a hidden manner. Government wants them to come out in the open. Okay, so this thing is like, there's a lot of work to do in Uttarakhand also. You should rather be concerned about managing disasters well, the landslides, Tihri Dam, etc. Okay, cleaning of Ganga, so those things. But you are focusing on these things. Okay, so that is the government's prerogative. The registrar can issue the summary inquiry to verify the authenticity, whether the document submitted, the photograph, the real reason behind live-in relationships, or the status of the couple, whether they are single. The registrar can chase them to the last dot. Failure to register a live-in relationship within a month, upon conviction, a magistrate may impose a jail term, etc. Now, the positive side of it is, in many live-in relationships, it is the women who are victimized, who are at the receiving end. False promise of marriage, okay, then getting pregnant. It is because of this reason that government wants to regulate this. Okay, even though it is a uniform civil code, but we are taking one leaf out of Uniform Civil Code of Uttarakhand today and discussing only the live-in relationship news which has appeared in the newspaper. I told you the reason. Sometimes false promise of marriage. Okay, sometimes the one of the members of the couple, or one of the associates in the association of live-in relationship, he lies that he or she is divorced or single, whereas they are actually having a marital relationship elsewhere. So kids born out of these relationships, sometimes they are rendered, even though it is a derogatory word, they would be bastards. So these things should not happen. That is why the government intends to regulate this thing, right? Now, implication of rules against the Supreme Court verdict in KS Puttaswamy case. So this was just a news thing. Okay, with reference to live-in relationships in India, consider the following statements. Live-in relationships are explicitly defined and recognized under a specific central legislation. Okay, now coming to this, India must guard against excessive financialization. I had to discuss this news in the previous day's news analysis. Economic Survey 2024-2025, survey of previous year based upon which the budget has been formed. It says that lower middle class country like India should save its people from excessive financialization. A lot of people are investing these days in options trading, or okay, shares trading, which is highly risky and requires a lot of financial, not just literacy. We are a country where financial literacy is not there. Okay, we require financial education first. Like we insist a lot on incorporation of chapters on sexual intercourse in the books of biology. Similarly, in the books of Indian economy or financial markets in India, macroeconomics, microeconomics, it should have dedicated chapters on the risks, on basically the nuances of the financial literacy, financial education, stock market education. What is the risk? How are the markets rigged or manipulated by the big players? Like we are seeing the Hindenburg scam report. So Madhavi Butch, even though she has a lot of dirt on her linen, but she's highlighted the issue that options trading, which is practiced by big players, big money, the insurance companies with big pockets, okay, big companies are investing. There they money, the trading is happening where some person is earning hundreds of thousands of crores, okay, hundreds of rupees. In a flash of a second, the entire money goes and he is in a loss of 1,000 rupees. So cards in the options trading in the financial markets are stacked against the common middle class people. The odds are against them. Why then we are letting them invest? Okay, the threshold should be a person should be having an income of at least 20 lakh rupees or 24 lakh rupees per annum in order for him to be allowed to invest in the stock market. Otherwise, it's a gamble. The other aspect of this article is that bitcoins, people are quite enthused by the bitcoins, etc. Okay, so I've incorporated this meaning, etc., everything. Then they are investing in your credit cards, not credit card, they investing, basically they are borrowing from credit card to invest in these type of risky trades in the stock market, taking positions in the stock market, futures and options trading, which is highly risky for middle class people. So that is what the economic survey is cautioning. Okay, that is why whenever there is a crash or mayhem in the securities market, we see a lot of distress in the middle class. That spills over to the banking sector because small borrowings by the people on their credit card or in the way of their personal loan to apply for IPO or to apply for shares trading, when the market crashes, this distress spills into the banking sector loans as well. So this is what the economic survey is cautioning. And one beautiful line that is written in the economic survey is the economy should be running on the real sector. What do we mean by real sector? See, real sector is manufacturing, the actual trading, okay, of merchandise goods. Financial sector's role is always to provide the service or always to aid the trade. Okay, aid or help the trade rather than being traded itself, being over traded. Financial system's role is to just mobilize the household savings via banks and provide it to business firms, Tatas, Adanis, Ambanis, so that the real chimney produces the smoke and manufacturing happens. Something tangible comes out. If you are just speculating for momentary gains, that is not a good idea. So in that light, in the previous years, the extra securities transaction tax to wean off the people from securities market, stock market, long term capital gains 15%, 10%, okay, that thing is STCG. That move of the government is being justified in the economic survey. According to me, that's right. Poor people, lower middle income class people should not take it as just another gamble. So this was all in today's news analysis. I would like to stop it here. 3 or 4 issues we would analyze rather than me just reading out. So I hope it helps you. We'll stop here, and every day we'll take up 3-4 issues and we'll analyze them to the core. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Have a good day.